Friday, July 3rd prediction. Let us take a step back and look at the board as it is currently set. Carly is backed into a corner, staring down the barrel of a rogue operative's weapon, while Ross is frantically preparing to vanish into the night with the stolen cold fusion prototype. Down in the dark, damp confines of the holding cells, Jocelyn and Liesel are bracing for the absolute worst. This is the exact moment when the writers have the perfect opportunity to pull the rug out from under us. Enter Z. The mysterious, overarching leader of the agency is no longer just a voice on a secure phone line or a shadowy figure sitting behind a desk in a Geneva office. He is about to put boots on the ground. When Z potentially launches a massive, heavily armed raid on the island, he is not just stopping a rogue agent. He is making a definitive, violent statement that the era of Ross operating unchecked is officially over. The sheer scale of this potential intervention is what makes it so utterly fascinating to analyze. Think about it for a second. We are entirely used to seeing Sonny handle his threats with a handful of trusted men in quiet, dark alleys. But Z brings the full, uncompromising weight of a global superpower to a local hostage crisis. This is a paramilitary operation threatening to tear through the Gothic halls of a private estate. If Z's forces breach the perimeter, neutralizing threats before they can even pull the trigger on Carly, it shifts the entire genre of the show from a domestic soap opera to a high-octane espionage thriller. I absolutely love this potential pivot because it makes the universe feel expansive, unpredictable, and dangerous in a way that local mob skirmishes simply cannot achieve. Consider the stark contrast between what we expected and what we might actually get. If Cassius had been the one to save Carly, it would have been a messy, emotional, desperate scramble fueled by guilt and adrenaline. It would have been deeply intimate and flawed. But Z's arrival represents the exact opposite end of the spectrum. It is clinical, precise, and overwhelmingly dominant. Z's strike team does not negotiate with terrorists or rogue scientists. They sweep the corridors, secure the cold fusion prototype, and systematically dismantle the exit strategy in a matter of minutes. By the time the operatives reach the holding cells to pull Jocelyn and Liesel from the brink of execution, the emotional catharsis isn't just about survival. It is about the awe-inspiring realization that there are forces in this world far bigger than the petty tyrants we are used to watching. While the island potentially burns under the weight of Z's tactical assault, we have to look at the psychological warfare happening simultaneously on the mainland. Sonny is playing a wildly dangerous game of chess with gens. We all know Sonny thrives on control, and his tactic here is brilliant in its absolute simplicity. Weaponized truth. By dropping the bombshell that Ross was the one who actually murdered Marco, Sonny isn't just distracting gens. He is fundamentally breaking the man's worldview. He is taking the very foundation of Jens' revenge crusade and shattering it into a million pieces, turning the man's blinding rage inward. This is classic psychological manipulation, and it proves that sometimes the most devastating weapon you can deploy in a war is a simple, undeniable fact. But this is exactly where it gets truly interesting, guys. Sonny's verbal manipulation is only half the trap. The real horror for Jens comes moments later when the realization sets in that his entire meticulously crafted escape plan has been compromised. He is not just being outplayed by a local mob boss. He has been tracked, monitored, and cornered by the agency from the very beginning. The invisible hand of Z has been guiding this outcome all along, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Jens suddenly finds himself trapped in a shrinking box, with no allies, no leverage, and absolutely no way out of the city. The sheer panic of a predator realizing he has been the prey the entire time is a masterclass in tension building. Let us anchor this theory with a specific observation from recent episodes. Jens has strutted through town for weeks, issuing orders, setting elaborate traps, and acting as if he held all the cards in the deck. He genuinely thought he was the grand orchestrator of chaos. But when the surveillance net finally tightens around him, all that arrogant bravado evaporates into thin air. It perfectly mirrors the potential downfall happening on the island. Both Ross and Jens believed they were smarter than the system, and both are simultaneously crushed by the overwhelming, coordinated machinery of Z's intelligence network. It is a beautiful narrative symmetry that highlights the absolute futility of their unchecked arrogance. Now, we must pivot to the visceral, grounded tragedy that could be unfolding simultaneously in the shadows. Away from the tactical raids and the high-stakes mob standoffs, we find Ethan and Ava in a desperate, bloody fight for survival. If Ethan is critically wounded, bleeding out from a gunshot wound as they desperately try to hide from the hunting party, the stakes reach an unbearable peak. And in this moment of acute physical vulnerability, Ethan chooses to detonate an emotional nuclear bomb. He confesses that he is not the biological father of Phoebe. This is not just a shocking twist to keep us on our toes. It is a profound character moment. When a man truly believes he is taking his final breaths, the lies he has carried for so long suddenly become far too heavy to hold on to. Ava's reaction to this confession is something we really need to unpack. We know Ava better than anyone. She is calculating, fiercely protective, and deeply cynical about the world. To be hit with a family secret of this magnitude while literally dodging bullets requires a superhuman level of compartmentalization. She is undoubtedly shocked, yes, but she cannot afford the luxury of processing that grief or anger right now. Her immediate priority has to be pure survival. She has to drag a dying man through the shadows, keeping him conscious, keeping him quiet, all while the man hunting them is closing in rapidly. The juxtaposition of a massive familial revelation against the immediate primal need to survive is storytelling at its absolute finest. Think about how this confession fundamentally alters their entire dynamic moving forward. For months, their relationship has been defined by blackmail, leverage, and this supposed shared connection to an innocent child. The moment Ethan bleeds out that truth, the entire foundation of their interaction crumbles into dust. Yet, ironically, it binds them closer together in this life or death moment. Ava could easily leave him to die in the dirt, punishing him for the ultimate deception. But she doesn't. She stays, she fights, and she drags him forward into the unknown. It shows that beneath the scheming exterior, the shared trauma of being hunted supersedes the betrayal of the lie. At least, for now. But wait, let me play devil's advocate against my own excitement for a moment. Am I giving Z and this massive agency raid too much credit? We are cheering for this paramilitary intervention because it theoretically saves our favorite characters, but isn't this essentially replacing one form of unchecked power with another? If Z has to authorize a literal war zone on domestic soil, tearing through a private island to clean up the mess left by his own rogue agents, is that really a victory? Or is it a catastrophic failure of intelligence? By escalating the conflict to this extreme level, Z might be saving the day, but he is also proving that the agency is fundamentally broken and incapable of subtle, preventative action. We might just be trading the devil we know for a much larger, more bureaucratic monster that cannot be controlled. While the island is swarmed by agents and the mob executes its traps, the quietest and perhaps most devastating storyline is reaching its inevitable, heartbreaking conclusion. Anna and Felicia finally confirm what they have suspected for weeks. The man wearing the face of a hero is nothing but a ghost. Cassius is fully, undeniably exposed. The investigative thread that Anna has been pulling, despite almost everyone doubting her sanity, finally unravels the entire sweater. This isn't just a victory for Anna's sharp instincts. It is a profound violation for everyone who allowed themselves to believe in the beautiful miracle of a resurrection. The true tragedy of this exposure does not land on the adults who should have known better. It lands squarely on the innocent shoulders of James. This is where the emotional core of the narrative truly aches. Cody is forced into the agonizing position of watching a young boy lose his father figure all over again. Cody knows exactly what it is like to long for a connection, to desperately want a family, and seeing James shattered by the revelation that the man he loved is a complete fraud is soul-crushing. The physical war taking place across the water is loud and explosive, but the quiet sobbing of a child realizing his hero is a lie is the sound that will linger the longest in our minds. When you step back and look at the massive tapestry of these interconnected storylines, a singular, powerful theme emerges: the catastrophic cost of maintaining an illusion. Ross believed the illusion that he could outsmart the world with stolen science. Jens believed the illusion of his own untouchable revenge. Ethan hid behind the comfortable illusion of paternity. And Cassius wrapped himself in the ultimate illusion of a stolen identity. Tonight, every single one of those illusions is violently stripped away. The truth is not setting anyone free. It is burning their carefully constructed lives to the ground. It is forcing them to stand naked in the wreckage of their own deceit. And that brings us right back to Z. His arrival is the ultimate catalyst for this widespread destruction of illusions. He is the reality check that everyone desperately needed. The residents of this town operate in a protective bubble, believing their local feuds and personal vendettas are the absolute center of the universe. Z's rage shatters that bubble permanently. It reminds everyone that there is a wider, much more dangerous world out there, and it does not care about your personal drama. It only cares about results, containment, and absolute authority. This debut is not just an action sequence. It is a massive paradigm shift for the entire series. Imagine the striking visual of the island in the aftermath of such an event. The grand Gothic architecture scarred by tactical entry teams. The cold fusion prototype secured in a nondescript metal case, completely devoid of the romanticized danger Ross attributed to it. Jocelyn and Liesel walking out of the darkness, forever changed by the realization of how close they came to the very end. Carly, standing amidst the chaos, realizing that her own intricate rescue plans were entirely unnecessary in the face of true institutional power. It is a humbling moment for characters who are so incredibly used to being the masters of their own fate. As for Ethan and Ava, their survival is only the beginning of a much darker, far more complicated journey. If they manage to evade Jens, they still have to face the bitter fallout of the confession. How does Ava look at Ethan in the harsh light of day, knowing he manipulated her maternal instincts and her deepest fears for his own selfish gain? And how does Jens, if he somehow survives the tightening noose of the agency, react to the knowledge that his entire crusade was built on a foundation of lies orchestrated by Ross? The physical wounds will eventually heal, but the psychological scars inflicted during this night of revelations will drive the narrative for months, if not years, to come. Ultimately, this sequence of events serves as a masterclass in tension and release. For months, we have been holding our collective breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. We expected a quiet resolution, a personal sacrifice, a tearful goodbye. Instead, the writers seem ready to kick the door down and flood the room with blinding light and deafening noise. The sheer audacity of bringing in a force like Z to completely upend the established order is a testament to the show's willingness to take massive, unprecedented risks. It proves that even after all these years, they can still completely blindside us with a shift in scale. So, as the dust begins to settle and the sirens slowly fade into the distance, we are left to look at the ashes of what once was. The tactical teams will eventually withdraw, the bodies will be counted, and the survivors will try to piece together the fragile fragments of their shattered realities. But nothing will ever be the same again. The arrival of Z has irrevocably altered the DNA of this town. The illusions are dead, the secrets are bleeding out on the floor, and the real question is no longer about who will save them. The question is, now that the world has seen exactly what they are, how will they ever survive the harsh light of the truth?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.